In today's episode of Matthew, you put in real energy into this boy. I have to talk about this so-called controversy with Chris Stuckmann, right?
Okay.
And
Well, I don't follow him. I don't follow him personally. I mean, I did. Well, I know what video you're talking about, and I did see it, but that is only because the algorithm put it on me, and I was just kind of half asleep, sitting down, and I was hearing it. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm doing something else. I ain't gonna change. I ain't gonna, X out of the program to go and switch this. So I
mm,
decided to listen to what he had to say. I'm like, all right, well, I mean,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
yeah,
right. Oh, well, that's okay. That's okay, right? In the process, I'm also gonna mention a recent video from another content creator that sparked a lot of controversy as well too. That will be Anthony Fantano's Unreviewable One. That's the title that he gave his review, which was sort of a rant slash mini review of that new Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign record, Vultures One. Which by the way I hated. I thought it was utter trash.
yeah,
Out of all the records I picked to listen to during, during my very enjoyable carnival weekend, I had to pick that shit, right? But we'll get to that
yeah,
later on, right? So this is more about Chris Stuckmann more than Fantano, but Fantano will be an example of the point that I want to make with this, right? So keeping in mind, listeners, that this is not a critique of their videos, right? But is the idea that their opinions, whether you agree with them or not, have to be poked at, like poked fun at and over-analyzed and heavily criticized, right? And in the process, you miss the point of what the creator is trying to say, right? Also, it's this weird perception that, they are critics first and foremost, and their job is to talk about the movie or the music or the album, whatever it is, right? And nobody cares about what their personal opinion is on what's going on behind the scenes and all that kind of stuff, right? Nobody tunes in for that. Everybody just want to see a review, and they just have to more or less subliminally tell you, yes, you're right in hating the film, you're right in loving the film, right? That's their job apparently.
right.
They can't do anything else but that, right?
Well, another thing, here's the thing. Look, a lot of art critic people don't get this, and it's shocking how a lot of people don't seem to get this part of it. Is a lot of art criticism is cultural criticism, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
As in, you're not just trying to talk about the thing on its own, which you should do, and that's fine. And yes, I do think I would have may or may not have a problem if somebody say just gets their quote unquote politics into it, whatever that means. But the point is that you have to make it. Yeah, you have to make an effort one way or the other, in the sense that you have to talk about other things that have nothing to do that supposedly have nothing to do with the thing. That's the thing. That's part of it anyway. So you can't get out of that. That is what a lot of people try to think is that well but put it like this. Uh is not art is not in a vacuum, right? You have to everything is context. So why it is that you just talk about the thing alone is fine. You could have a problem with what do you call it, boy, with non sequiturs, but that is not what Fantano did. Fantano, what his criticism is to be very valid compared to the rest of to what he's trying to talk about as the creator, because the creator puts his own material into his idea. I mean, our whole goddamn album called Jesus is King. So I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so
You're right. Mm-hmm.
exactly. So that you have to talk about it in that sense. If you could say that, all right, they spend too much time on that, or they didn't get to the review, whatever it is, fine. But like, look, you could say his opinion and say, look, this is not why I'm going to do it. My attitude towards this stuff is that I take the more just take away discretionary approach to this kind of stuff, aka. I just won't talk about it, right? I understand why you might want to talk about it or make a criticism, but I don't hate what Fantano did necessarily. So I understand that. But then again, this from the same one, you're dealing with people who are Kanye fans. Look, I I can't call myself a modern Kanye fan in any meaningful sense, but I understand why you'd be a Kanye fan. Like I miss the old Kanye, right? We don't against
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
that.
We
But
both do. We both do. Yeah.
but Fantano, I I do understand where you're coming from, because it's like, well, yeah, that's the time period. That's he material is a problematic area, and you have to talk about it in that sense. It's a cultural criticism. You could merge both. You could talk about both. There's nothing wrong about that. As for Stuckman, he also, again, I'm in the camp of saying, well, you should just stay away from it, because again, I did not watch Madam Web. I'm probably not going to watch Madam Web until maybe the end of the year. I have zero interest in it. It's not looking interesting. Probably going to be crap. I don't care, right? Because those movies and the track record for those movies weren't good, and I don't expect a Madam Web to be particularly like unique to that whole discourse. So that's why I didn't worry to get engaged in it. I'm not going to waste my time. Frankly, I have better things to do with my time. Don't care. And I'm not even feeling to be part of the pylon with respect to that. So I kind of do business. But with respect
To Stuckmann.
to Stockman, right? I just think he probably should have just drift. He probably just shouldn't have engaged in it because I'm not sure what he trying to do or engage with his arguments. Other than saying, well, as a creator, you shouldn't pile on or whatever it is. Well, yeah, you're a creator. I understand why you would be more charitable towards anybody who's a creator or anybody who get a bad rap or whatever it is. Anybody could get sucked into a bad movie, right? That's a normal thing. But like in the end of the day, the product is the product. I don't know. This is again to go back to saying there's a guy James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd. He outright said he's not gonna just simply not gonna watch the Ghostbusters movie. He's probably gonna watch it later, maybe. He say not watching it because it's looking bad. Fine, that's exactly what you should have done with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well, personally, I have a little bit of hope that it'll be much better than Afterlife. I think that was the last one. But yeah, I do agree with you with Afterlife. It was bad. It was bad. It was nostalgia done in the worst way though.
No. Well, in his case, it was the not an Afterlife. He was knocking. It was the 2016 movie.
Oh, that one. Okay. Well,
yeah. Now, I thought that was fine. It was like I think it was bad. It had a lot of big like core problems in it, but it wasn't like again the internet pylon bullshit. And a lot of it is later admitted. A lot of this is like weird anti-feminist stuff that again designed to be 4chan, engagement, algo sludge. That's how it is.
Yeah.
It's algo sludge. That's the problem with this kind of stuff. And so that's why I don't really get into these debates because these meta debates also is algo sludge. Sorry to say it, right? Unfortunately, we're feeding into it right now. That's why I don't really waste my time with this kind of thing. Because it's the kind of argument that you're not going to be you're not getting anything from quote unquote winning. It's like, all right, well, you don't like the movie, fine, you move on, or something like that. I'm not going to engage in discourse if I know some bullshitter who it's only designed to like dunk on a person. Like that's it. You're not going to say, okay, the movie bad, moving on. Give it a bad review or not, or shut the fuck up. I don't know. Like I don't really care. Like it's weird now. That's why nobody's going to add to the discourse in a meaningful way now. I don't know what. To be fair, I don't know what Chris Stuckmann's going to say. Like what he's trying to say exactly with his the review, other than you should probably be charitable to other people. All right, fine. I mean, we tend to maybe be, but it does feel like that. And the person who direct this movie, like, well, yeah, you know what you're looking for. It's not like at no point I look at this and thinking it's going to be a decent enough product because yeah, it's a crappy Sony movie that Sony gone half-ass on. Like, duh. Like it's like saying you're gonna expect Venom to do good. Well, yeah, it might make money, but it ain't gonna be good. No Venom was good. Both of them were shit. It's just one had a character who was popular and the other one didn't. That is it. Nobody know who Madam Web is. The only reason I know who Madam Web is because of the Spider-Man cartoon. I understand the logic of why Madam Web might exist as a show because, it's a multiversal kind of bullshit thing. That's it. No other reason. Moving on. It sucks. Who cares?
Exactly. So, all right. So what I will do here, right? Again, I'm not critiquing, Chris's or Anthony's video, right? But it's a point that I want to make about the backlash surrounding it, right? So we'll start off with Chris, right? Because, primarily we talk about film here. We also talk about music. So I don't want to exclude Anthony out of this because, I honestly think that the video that he put out prior to Chris's video, falls under the same category of, wow, people are really blowing this up in a really like weird way though. But anyway, so Chris's video, right, is called I Have to Talk About This, right? Now if I have one critique, like if I just have one thing I could say is, could lead why all this kind of happened in the first place, is the thumbnail. As simple as it is, there's a lot of people who will see that and think, oh, you're gonna be talking about why this movie is bad, let me click on it, right? Or they can make the argument, but like I will make the argument and say, but the title didn't say Madam Web review, it just said I have to talk about this. But again, because the thumbnail, people think, oh, you're gonna talk about this and really get into the meat and potatoes and really kind of figure out why the show is so bad, right? But anyway, I should also mention too, right, especially for you who have don't really follow his channel. I have been for years now. I would say about a decade. I wouldn't say that he is one of the people that influenced me to do this in the first place, right? But yeah, he is one of the people I used to look up to. Similar to guys like John Flickinger or Jeremy Dance, right? I also have like Chris's book, right? Like he had this book that he put out a while back about just best movies of the 2010s, I believe it was. I have that book,
Right.
right? So I've been following his career for a long while, right? So I should also mention too that upon his announcement that he is a father now, right? So he has twin boys, right? He made a statement saying, well, a video, right? Saying that he doesn't want to bash movies anymore, right? So, one of the playlists, if you will, that he was famously known for was this thing called Hilariosity, right? Where he would pick like a so bad it's good or so bad it's bad movie and poke fun at it, right? Whether it's Batman, Robin, the Wicker Man, the one with Nicolas Cage, stuff like that. Now, so have fun, kind of ripping apart the show. But yeah, he is like kind of venomous when it comes to it at times, especially with shows like say Dragon Ball Evolution. He is a big DBZ fan, so yeah, he absolutely hated that movie. So yeah, he ripped that movie to shreds through that program, if you will, right? I should also mention too that about a couple of years ago, he mentioned that in addition to saying that he doesn't want to bash movies, right, he want to focus on movies that he saw, like current films, right, and films in the past or whatnot, right. It's stuff that he enjoy or appreciate or flat out love. If there are flaws, he will mention the flaws, right, but it's not like, oh, I'm going to talk about a show that I hate, right, because he's done with that, right. He's in a new place in his life, right. And then lastly, Ma's a filmmaker now. He was working on
So you have that creative skin in the game now.
That's right. Right.
Because other people have their version of it, and if they do a good job with it, they could think like it have a guy who I'm familiar. I never follow his stuff, but from what I understand, he's on the more negative end of things. Critical Drinker. He apparently has a movie that's out. And it looks okay, at least for the budget and what you expect.
What genre is it? What does it fall under? I don't follow his stuff.
Yeah, no, well, he does his negative review stuff. Like, I think he kind of in the anti-feminist kind of end of things. Again, I don't know enough about the guy to know. I don't know, but he has a movie out. It looks like a kind of thriller, kind of action something. I'm really sure, right? But again, in the end of the day, it really does boil down to how charitable people willing to be to the material and who go and defend it when it came out. Because look, Red Letter Media, they brought out their movie and their movie sucked ass. Right, I had fun with it. It was stupid, but it sucked. Like I admit that Space Cop is terrible. But whatever. Now you move on. Some people could get it right, other people won't. Like it's fine. But my attitude is, if you at least put out something, and even if it sucks and whatever, and people dunk on you the same way you dunk on people, whatever. At least you put yourself under the lash, right? That's
exactly. Yeah, and I know Chris is a guy I'm not speaking for him, right? But I know he's a guy who. Yeah, probably looking forward to people like really heavily criticizing his debut, right? Which is called Shelby Oaks, by the way.
And people might even performatively do it. Like, just the fact that you're a critic or you're a type of critic that they don't like, they go and cut your ass for that, and so on and so forth, right? And people come back on the full circle and don't do it for the other people. Like, here's an example, a nice little example right now. The Criterion channel is now putting up on their channel as a Hall.
Oh, I know you're talking about they putting out like Razzie winners. Yes. Yeah, so stuff like Ishtar and not Showgirls, something else from the 80s I think they putting out. But I saw that because I live for Criterion, right? So I get a newsletter. I saw when they posted up. I was like, all right, okay. Because I never watched Ishtar before in my life, but even at a young age, I heard about how bad it was, right? So it's one of those things that you hear how bad it was, but it's like, I don't want to see because I hear for years that it's bad. But now that Criterion is going to put it out on their channel, it's like, all right, well, I could give it a look, So it's like that.
Yeah. No, but you're right, and exactly. But the thing is a lot of it is to do with the conceit of how you should just think about these things as just bad art. Look, it'll have bad art all the time. Who cares? My attitude is the issue of skin in the game. The problem is that we have way too much discourse that have no skin in the game, and they have a bunch of people who just not going to add to the conversation in a meaningful sense. They artificially chase negative reviews, and that's what our algorithm does, unfortunately. For all his problems you'll have with him, this is why I kind of appreciate Movie Bob and they do really that good series, because he don't try to go for that artificially, right? He have an opinion, the opinion not perfect, and he just put himself out there for that. Again, you don't have to like him or his opinion or whatever it is, but the simple fact that he at least puts some workable, honest skin in the game with respect to that. He could have his own 9-hour takedown video, whatever it is. That is not the point. Right? The point is that you have some kind of organic approach to how it is you feel about this. And once it's genuine opinions, that's all that matters. That is all that matters to me, a genuine opinion. The problem is that at no point I just get the feeling that a lot of these dudes have an actual opinion on it. What it is, it's just chasing a algorithm on the point, and it's a lot of it
trend.
just
It's a trend.
a trend. Or
Yeah.
it's just, well, it's look, it's money jumping up. Let you admit that. Like a big part of this, right? A lot of money jumping up. That is what they'll do with respect to making sure you could get you're chasing it now. You're just chasing an algorithm, and it's look, it's money. I can't tell them to not make money. That's fine. The problem is that it's fake bullshit. You're not saying things. You don't have an opinion. Sometimes what even worse, a lot of people don't even engage in the material, which is like terrible. Like, so when you ask them, oh wait, did they watch the material? They didn't even do it. I'm like, well, so how are you going to review it then? You're watching, at least watching other people's opinion of it, or something like that. At least you could do that, right? Nope, not even that. So they just they didn't even read the thing, and they don't even know the thing, and now they're still trying to engage in the discourse. And that's just outright anti-intellectualism.
Agreed.
That's just
Yes.
shameless.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
is complete shamelessness. But we are at that point. Because a person could just do that and just say something that just completely false, or just a lazy misinterpretation of that thing, and still, get money, and get engagement. Not only that, but you have a whole culture of what do you call them? Let's call that plagiarism, right? In the discourse as well. So that is a big part of that, and that is the problem. Right now the internet, sorry to say it, is a dead mall, right? It's just the laziest, most low down approach to this to material, and it's just a lot of outright anti-intellectualism and what to call it, just media literacy, right? Lack of media literacy, and it's kind of shameful at this point. But that's the discourse. That's where it is. Is the life I chose, or the life that chose me, right? And I can't really say anybody could just come out of this as it was. What am I tell?
Yeah.
I just drop my hands with this kind of stuff, because I just don't engage with people who I think not going to engage in a good discourse with me at this point. It have no reason to gain with that, because the person they have no actual engagement or opinion of that. If it's not chasing an algorithm, or they can pile onto somebody, you're not going to engage with it. And this fella, after he put up a video about that. He make light of the fact that if they were serious about this, they would have talked about cocaine beer. What's his name? Bob Chipman. And he say it's not cocaine beer. He would have called it wocaine beer. Because if you think about it, cocaine beer did that, right? Cocaine beer changed the gender of the character, make it a mother, make it this big feminist story, and nobody talk about that, because they didn't watch the fucking movie. That's it.
Right. So I made sure to write down these points because again, I don't want to echo what everybody else has been seeing, right? And as you, Ricardo, since you say you just sort of like heard it in the background, so to speak. So
Right.
so this is just me kind of explaining to you what the main aspect is. I'm not gonna go into full details yet. I don't want you full thing for yourself, right? But I just want you to listen carefully to what he said. Because this is stuff that people twisting and turning and bending to make it sound like, oh, Chris is the villain, right? But anyway.
Right.
So Chris said at the very beginning that he didn't want to talk about it based on what he heard about it, right? So going into it, right? So let me be real. Let's all be real, right? Leading up to the release of Madam Web, we were hearing through various grapevines, especially through social media, that Madam Web was going to tank. It was going to underperform now at the box office, right? So a lot of people would have gone into this movie expecting this thing to not be of a high quality, right? I, for one, personally, could have done that by saying, no, Bob Marley One Love coming out the same weekend. Let me go and see that. I saw it, I took it in, I critiqued it, that was that, right? I could have jumped on the bandwagon too and say, oh, you want to see a bad movie? Let's go and see Madam Web, right? Whatever, right? But, back to Chris. He said that he didn't want to talk about it based on, all the little scuttlebutt about it, right? Because he wants to focus on film celebration with his channel, right? He said, this is not a review of Madam Web. He's not about bashing filmmakers or artists. He knows how hard it is to make a movie. He does not know how hard it is to make a movie under the studio system. He was able to make an indie movie without a corporation breathing on his neck, right? He also states that this is not a video about Madam Web or why you should or shouldn't see that film. He mentions Rotten Tomatoes. He says that, there's other places, there's other voices you could check out if you want to hear opinions on what the show is, or, you want a score or whatnot, you could go there. Put a pin on that for a bit. Put a pin on that, right? The video is actually about the grip, this powerful grip that certain movie studios have over filmmakers and screenwriters, right? He mentioned in the process, he talked about how some studios just back off and let filmmakers tell the story the way they want to tell it, right? But that doesn't mean that all of them will be great. And he cites Morbius as an example. But there are some studios that will pretty much tell creatives, look, we're paying you, we're making sure that you're eating and you're living. You have to do what we tell you to do, or else you're fired, right? So in the case of Madam Web, this is just like a little minor spoiler. If you want, like, they just decide out of the blue in one like crucial scene, a fight, whatever it is, let's have this blatant Pepsi sign just be there in the background. Let just be there big and bold, right? And you seeing that as a screenwriter, when you're sitting down in your apartment writing this out, right? In the back of in your mind, you're not thinking, oh well, this scene needs a Pepsi sign. But the studio comes and say, no, we want that there. And if you don't put it in there, that's it. So that's the point he was trying to get across there.
Sony in particular is egregious with the situation.
Well, on the subject of Sony, because Sony is what he really focusing on, because he was just talking about Madam Web. He was talking about this whole Spider-Man verse thing that he created with Venom, you know what I mean? From right. That onwards. That's really who he was addressing there, He didn't really call them out by name, but he was just using that as a primary example, right? And last point I'll make about the the video itself, right? Well, the rest of it you can watch for yourself. He said that while he was watching Madam Web, and he's actually familiar with the director, right? Because she actually worked on stuff like Defenders and whatnot for Netflix, right? He couldn't bring himself to think that the poor quality that he was seeing on screen was the fault of the director. He saw it as an example. One sec. He saw it as an example of the studio letting the viewers know that it doesn't care about the quality of the experience it's giving them. And what the overall message of his video is that, something had to be done because people are spending their money to watch something and they want to be entertained. But, these studios want to give them sludge and they say, yes, take the sludge and eat it. Yeah, and then now you have something, and this is where my argument will start from. Then you have a platform like YouTube where a whole bunch of people will just go afterwards, make videos and say, the movie is bad, and the movie is bad, and the movie is trash, and the movie is trash. And I'll actually stop at this point on, right? But, I don't want to sell myself out too quick, right? But yeah, Ricardo, you were saying?
This is not a new argument.
I know.
Again, I'm not trying to knock him or whatever it is you think he's trying to say, but it's not a new argument. Like, okay, a perfect example of something that could have been great, but the studio decided to fuck it up. RoboCop, the remake.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Terrible. Right? Terrible movie in my opinion. But, the reason why it sucked is because, the filmmaker, right, he didn't seem to have any control of the project. Right? In my humble opinion. But whatever, that does happen all the time. Again, you could keep your mouth shut, or you could have enough power to do it or not. Look, in the end of the day, there's the old joke about filmmaking. If you wanna work in the film industry, you go to film school. But if you wanna make movies and you wanna make movies the way you want,
you go to business school. Yeah, I remember you told me that.
Whole line, right? Whole line. I don't know where, I forget where it come from. Point is, look, in the end of the day, people don't have any kind of money or control or whatever it is like that. Once you don't have that control or money, it don't make any sense. You can't. And if you really have a problem with, it's a job, and we just fucking talk about this with American fiction. The end of the day, it's a job, and it's where you want to take. If you want to be Mr. Highfalutin artsy person, stay out of the industry. Go and write the thing in a corner. Hopefully, you'll win the lotto sometime, and then you go make your thing. Or you grind, you put yourself nose to the grindstone, take your shit, and then happen to think. What you think this woman gonna be so depressed? Or I forget the woman name, the director of Madam Web. She gonna be depressed with she bad movie or whatever it is. Like what happened near the Costa with Marvels? Yeah, kind of bad. It's a really shitty thing, and people was really shitty about it because they just had to make up bullshit about it. Or she don't want to go to the premiere, and I said things that are effectively outright lies about her. But she had that kind of bullshit, and look, sorry to say it, the internet is a fucking dead mall at this point because it's a sludge. We just it's a sort of idiot sludge material that just making easy money, and there's a bunch of people who are absolutely shameless and have no problem putting up, their negative reviews, and they have no opinion. That's why I don't really listen to these people.
Yeah. Well, as I keep bringing this up though, this is gonna I gotta actually reflect some of that into the points that I want to make, right? And and don't worry, guys. I also want to mention the Fantano stuff as well. Too. I won't say too long on that, but I really want to focus more on the Stuckmann stuff, right? So
Right.
Rama wanna say with where Stuckmann says that this is not a video about Madam Web or why you shouldn't or should watch it, and how he mentioned Rotten Tomatoes and there's other people you could go and check for opinions, right? So apparently there's this argument that going around, right? This and everybody keep latching on to it, right? That apparently Stuckmann is acting elitist now because, he is working on a feature film. He's working on his debut feature film, and he does not want to piss off, the Hollywood, right?
Right.
But let's hold on to that for a bit, right? But then these, the argument also goes even further because with that whole statement about Rotten Tomatoes and all that kind of stuff, people are thinking, when I say people, I mean content creators are assuming, right, that this is Chris saying, more or less kind of pushing everybody underneath the bus now. So he's saying, oh, well, you're not supposed to talk about the movie being bad. That's, you're not supposed to do that. No. And then he twists it around to say, oh, we should celebrate films instead. We shouldn't critique films. That is not what the man said.
Yeah, right.
That's
not
what he said. So what I've been seeing, right, and this is not a lot of videos I've been seeing, right, because like I just watch like 5 or 10 minutes of some of them, I just get so pissed off, right?
Yeah.
So this narrative that everybody keep running with, right, not everybody, but everybody running with, right, is that Chris, doesn't want to critique films anymore, and now you have these people who just coming out of nowhere, right? I never see these people in my life, and they never show up in my YouTube feed at all. Coming and saying, oh, well, I grew up on Chris Stuckmann's videos, and I used to love hilariosity videos, and it was so fun. Ooh. And now Chris doesn't want to do that anymore. He just wants to talk about the movies that he loves. And now
you fall for the algo sludge.
I know this is the algo sludge. This is the algo sludge, and this is how this chain people up. This is how this swindle people, right? Oh, but film criticism is important because, more people, or I should say those studios need to be aware that, that they are making bad films. People need to speak out about it, right? So picture this scenario, right? 100 so-called film critics go on YouTube, put out a video each out saying about why they did not like Madam Web. They know that everybody going to tune into YouTube, right? Tune in, right? To see these videos. They're going to share these videos and they're going to poke fun about it and go on TikTok and be like, ha ha ha, isn't it funny? Madam Web sucks. Ha, click, move on. Madam Web sucks. Boom, right? That's it, right? And then they want to call it.
Again, back about 8 years ago, it had something called cringe compilations. It's the same.
Right.
If you know what that is.
It's the same thing, right? And you want to call that film criticism, right? But because our man decides, right? So, before I get to that, right? So the 100 people, right? So 100 people go up online and say the movie is bad. Apparently, Chris Stuckmann have to be the 101st person to come and say the same thing. Why? Why he have to come and say the same thing that all they're thinking about and agreeing upon? Why?
Yeah,
he said.
There's a joke. I don't know if I'm using this properly, but basically, if you know what 2 minutes hate is, right? That's what it is.
Right.
It's just a pylon.
That's what it is. That is a pylon, right? But the man said about 2 years ago, right? He does not want to bash movies anymore. He wants to focus on films that he loves and all that kind of stuff, right? Understand this, folks. Understand this, people who live their lives on YouTube creating content and couldn't even be bothered to go outside and see the real world. Chris is in a new place in his life. He's a father now. He have a family now. He was always serious about making films in the past. He always was. He even did a hilariosity poking fun at a short film that he made back in the days when he was younger. He was doing this Indiana Jones tribute. And yeah, he poked fun at that. He was able to poke fun at his own work. So you think that he decided to make Shelby Oaks without thinking that, thinking that it's going to be critic proof? No, of course not. He knows what he's going to get into because that's the industry. That's the way how it works, right? And I don't think he has a problem with that. But then, let me throw a next story, at you, right? Let me just say that he was the 101st critic to come and say, yes, Madam Web is terrible because I saw it on Valentine's Day and it was terrible, right? Next thing you know, one day Shelby Oaks premiere and, he in some, film festival or whatnot, and he runs into the director of Madam Web, and then she watch him and say, I saw your video, what you said about my movie, Then what? Now, I don't want to spend whole day on, on the bullshitters, right? But yeah, they will just throw all these things and make you believe in what it is they're saying, right? That's my stance on all this. So one guy mentioned, Quentin Tarantino used to talk about other people's movies. He would come out and say that these movies are bad too, and same thing that Martin Scorsese used to do. Motherfucker, do they have YouTube channels?
Look, guys,
I just seen. Do they this is where I'm gonna get to my point. Right? This is my rant. This is where I'm gonna get heated, and then I'll cool myself down, right? They're not gonna go on YouTube to feed this narrative about a movie being bad just to validate your feelings on a show, whether you see the show or not. So you could feel good about yourself. Oh, well, Chris hates the movie, so now I feel good that he hates the movie too. He doesn't have to do that. He stated at the very beginning of the video, he is not talking about Madam Web, but is the idea that there is a studio that is watering down properties, right? Because it's not just about, a screenwriter writing a story. No, it's about a comic book character, a comic book property, it's Marvel stuff now. And Sony just doesn't seem to know what to do with it right after, with the exception of, the Spider-Verse films, right? They just really don't know what to do with them, right? So you get stuff like Madam Web, you get Venom, you get Kraven, which you're going to get very soon. That's the thing, right? Why you think he had a Spider-Man shit in the first place for? Just to, just for style? No. The man is a comic book fan as well, right? He's always praised, the Sam Raimi films and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's that, right? But when you come with this whole twisted narrative that, Chris turned his back on film criticism, and here's the point that everybody like to see. You're a critic, you're supposed to critique films. That's your job. Alright, understand, you have a platform called YouTube, right? You could go there, you can make videos, you could get paid, right? I use the platform as well too. I don't get a cent out of it, but I have my personal reasons why I do it. I just feel personally, with us, in Trinidad, right? With the pretty much non-existence of a film industry, I just doing this more or less to fuel my passion for film, right? Because don't get me wrong, if somebody came to me one day, paid me, like thousands and millions of dollars, right? Gave me a script that is fire, right? And say, I want you to make a film out of that. I put in that YouTube channel and pause and working on that shit, My life is not going to be dictated by YouTube, Don't get me wrong, But I know it have a lot of content creators who call themselves film critics, and it's all about film criticism, man. You know what I mean? Whose job pretty much is to make content. And how do you make content that more people will be going to and clicking and liking and sharing? By following trends. Sorry, that's just how it is. So the whole trend right now, up until the end of this month, I call it right now, is that Madam Web is bad. That's the narrative. That's what we're going with. When Dune Part 2 comes out this week, that's when everybody will stop talking about Madam Web, hopefully, right? But I imagine beyond that, more people will continue to talk about Chris Stuckmann and say, he turned his back on film criticism and he wants to save his skin because he's a filmmaker now and blah, 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 blah. I'll just throw one last point, right? I'm just going to throw an example, right? So somebody that we know, I'll just give a hint. Is somebody who used to work on the Double Toaster, right? I stumble on his video, Jen, and he make a point, boy. When I hear that, I was like, boy. His thing is that if Chris so serious about talking about film celebration and he don't want to bash films anymore, why doesn't he remove the Hilariosity playlist? Why doesn't he remove those videos? And when I see that, boy, that's when I realize, wow, boy, this is where this discourse reach now.
Yeah.
So we reach a point where content creators, right, who just coming out of the woodwork just to say, oh, I was a fan of Chris Stuckman, and now I'm not a fan anymore because he's just putting out all these videos that's about old movies, and he's not talking about the movies that we see, blah, 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 right? So they're coming out of the woodwork and calling themselves critics and whatnot, right? So it's that, right? And all of a sudden now they want to just point fingers at Chris and saying, oh, you turn your back on us, and you're supposed to be a film critic, so it's your job to do that. So he, out of everybody else on YouTube right now who call themselves film critics, have to come to say something just for all it to feel good about all themselves. This is where we reach. And over a movie that, as far as I'm concerned, people will stop giving a fuck about long before it even comes out on digital. That's where we reach, and that's why I want to address this, right? I will mention the Fantano stuff quickly, but I just want to cool myself off, right? And then we wrap up. But yeah, Ricardo, I know this is the sludge that you were talking about, right? But yeah, go on.
Yeah, well, again, this is you mentioned it earlier, but again, you really care about this one.
I know. Because
look, again, it's
I'll state why at the end. But yeah, you go on.
No, but again, I really don't get into this kind of stuff as it is now, because look, we review movies, we enjoy your opinion about it. If somebody have a genuine issue with what I say, they will directly, I'm gonna say this once, you will directly send me a thing. My attitude is that the reason why this happened is because of because of two things. One, the rise of YouTube and its popularity, but two, it have a bunch of people who, college, you're not supposed to know them. Like if it didn't have a big weird financial crisis that melt down a bunch of people college career, especially in the arts, you would have never know who they are, right? I would argue probably the most popular and arguably the most talented person at the job, pound for pound, I would argue, is Lindsay Ellis. I'm sure if she didn't have to go through bullshit during the financial crisis, and she did get her master's earlier, and she got a career the way she should have a long time ago, I would have never known who Lindsay Ellis is, right? It's the same reason why I'd have never known who Sam Harris was if it wasn't for 9/11, right? A crisis happened, and it made the career had to zag when it should have zig, and that's basically what happened. That's how I see it. Like, so it's all these little side things now that it is Dante from from Clerks now. I'm not supposed to be here today.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Like, it's sorry to say it, but we just, a lot of people just stuck in the discourse of things that not supposed to happen or exist anyway. Yeah, sorry to say it, and you're supposed to be outside the pit. That's why I don't waste my time getting into these arguments. Again, these things not supposed to exist as it is because you're supposed to deal a bigger discourse about it. There's somebody who brought up an issue about this, but unfortunately the person's kind of trash. But is it really you're arguing over things? Because this is gonna become an issue when AI become a thing, for example, or look, it's just gonna get worse and worse. My attitude is stop catering to the algo sludge. Stop catering to the bullshit in that sense. It's algo sludge.
Yeah.
There's a set of people who have no skin in the game when it comes to discourse. I'll put it like this. You'll be worse off if you win the argument against them. That's how bad it is. Right? There's a lot of people who just is nonsense. It's useless nonsense. They're not going to bring to the discourse. That's why when somebody says something or they think they're making an interesting argument, they have no skin in the game because it's online in the internet. Unless they're so sure you put them in a space where they actually put some skin in the game, then you could probably cook them. Like somebody will say something dumb, and because they say that dumb thing, you get to cook them because they come wrong and strong now. Or it have a lot of loud and wrong types, right? But it's only when they in a position of actual skin in the game. This is nonsense. This is empty nonsense, and that's why they do it, because they have no skin in the game. Like, I admit that. Like, a lot of this is that. It's just as a bunch of dudes who have nothing. They won't learn. They won't come from things. It's media illiteracy at its worst. And is really a shame that we at this point. But look, that's the internet. Blame Mark Zuckerberg. Sorry to say it.
Yeah.
It is good. You shouldn't roll along the hill. Again, I really have zero patience for any of this as it is.
No, I know you don't care about none of this though. But
because it's meaningless. It's not an argument. It's a non-starter of a discussion. Because what has ended up happening? What has happened with this kind of stuff? Somebody talks some dumb shit, right? You cook them in the comments. They either willfully misinterpret what you're trying to say or just move on as if nothing happened, right? And it just keeps going on. Now, a whole bunch of idiots like that. They don't do anything. They don't say anything. You're not going to add to the discourse in any meaningful sense. And that is it. You're really dealing with people who just like absolutely clueless. Rebel without a clue. It is really feel like, oh well, you listen to what I had to say there. Like, Oh, right. I just dealing with a moron now. You know when I picked this up the first time? Batman v Superman. Yeah,
Or
that is when I picked it.
you mean the fan base who was praising it, even though they knew
Defending
it
it.
was right,
And
defending it. That's it.
now
Yeah.
not, again, let's be clear. I don't think it's impossible to defend Batman v Superman. I think it's probably really difficult. The movie sucks. Not going to say it. Not going to defend it in that sense. But the kind of responses you get from them, you realize, oh, well, you even engage in the discourse or the discussion of what I'm trying to say, and you just watch people just spend literally, comments, whole comment threads saying nonsense or trying to defend rubbish arguments. And you're like, all right, well, were you even trying to argue for them? Like, what's the point? What's the point of even this discussion? You're dealing with, yeah, and as I said, it's like dealing with what do you call it? Like talking to a flat earther, one of these types of people. Now, it on that level of like outrage. It's like you're just dealing with like almost like a kind of calculated form of madness, almost. Like it's just, oh, this person not serious at all. They're incredibly unserious people. Stop talking to them. Stop listening to them. It had no discourse I had. They're not bringing anything to the table intellectually. And yeah, I don't waste my time getting into this, especially with goddamn movies. By the way, this is about a bunch of women. Like, let's be clear about it. It's a bunch of women who could have spider powers. That is what people getting mad of on the internet about, right?
Yeah.
Like, well,
Isn't
it's
this
not.
supposed to be Spider-Man?
Yeah,
You know
moving
what I
on.
mean?
Like,
It's like, come
yeah,
on, man.
moving
You know
on.
what I
Like,
mean?
I'm
But
wasting my time with it.
yeah, but because yes, we have spent a while on this, but yeah, again, it's a rant, right? I want to compare this quickly to Anthony Fantano, right? Even though his situation is complex, right? And different at the same time too, because it's about music as well, right? But I also see that sort of similar as well, right? As well. So his video is Unreviewable One. Of course, it is about the garbage fire that is Vultures One. I just being real, right?
Right.
On the subject of that, right? Going in, just listening to it during the Carnival weekend, right? Because I saw when Anthony posted that video, right? I saw the still of it and just the expression of it on it on the still, on the thumbnail, and then of course the title Unreviewable One, right? I just sense that something bad was gonna happen, when I listened to the album, right? And I listened to it, I gave it about 3 times, right? And I will admit, a bit I'm a bias against it came from seeing that still, right? But when I really sat down and think about it, I was like, all right, I didn't want to jump on bandwagons. I didn't know what the bandwagon was as yet. I just assumed that everybody was talking bad about the album, right? But I made the point because I did a little IG post about it, right? I stated the reason why the album was so bad was because of Kanye's antics on the record. But I brought up something that I don't think I saw anybody really bring up in their critiques of it, is that Ty Dolla $ign was outshined, like overshadowed to the point that I don't even remember much about what he sang or rapped about on the album. It was more about Kanye and just the kind of shit that he was seeing on record, right? I kind of forgot about what Ty said. So Ty, he was supposed to be the co-star of the film, so that just felt like a bit player. Like he was just barely there, right? And nobody really brought up that, right? So in that video, right, in a nutshell, he was just talking about how it had 3 types of fans who will pretty much kind of like just pour a set of bile, attempt to pour a set of bile down Fantano's throat, tell him, oh, you don't get it because you're not a Kanye fan, right? And keep in mind, Fantano is pretty much calling Kanye at this point anti-Semite, right? Just based off the stuff that he was seeing from since 2020 onwards, right? So he went into that record knowing about the stuff that Kanye was seeing, because he put out videos about him in the past, right? He even did a live stream. He's always do this, Friday nights on his Twitch channel, right? So he actually did like a live stream, like listening to the album. He was laughing at it and whatnot, right? And in the comment section, it was a bunch of those that whole toxic fandom that he spent about half the video talking about, right? Yeah, they were the ones who targeted him now, like attacking him basically during that live stream. Like it's actually on his next channel. It's called Fantano. You could go and check it out. Yeah, they were all like attacking him, and then he would like have to pause the okay, he's played the song now. He had to pause it and be like, oh, what is you talking about this? We talk about that, blah blah blah, right? Now to be fair, I would admit that Anthony does spend a little too much time on Twitter, right? He spent a lot of time feeding those trolls, right? I'll give him that, right? But at least he was fair enough in the video, the review or lack thereof, to come and say, is these kind of people that he's had a face when he talks about Kanye or he says anything about Kanye, right? So his notion is that it don't even matter what he says about it, because, those fans will just say, Kanye is God or whatnot, and everything he does is great. Or, in terms of like distinguishing between fans, he would say just have some people, there's some like teenagers who just have nothing else better to do. I just want to listen to just some dumb shit and they just jump on board that, right? But in the case of Anthony, he can't say that, Kanye's music is bad. But so that's why in the last few minutes he does mention points about why the album was trash. And I agree with him for the most part, right? I agree with the stuff that he was saying. So it have like, again, these nobodies, these whippersnappers, yes, I'm using the term whippersnappers, right? Fucking sue me, right? Who just showing up in the blue and saying, oh, we don't want to hear about your talks about politics, and we don't want to hear about what you think about Kanye being anti-Semite and whatnot. It's about the music. You're supposed to be a music critic, man. Talk about the music. And then now the flip side to it is like, how you could say that the album is unreviewable, or how the album is trash. I thought it was okay. I thought it was alright. And then, I don't know, again, finding little bits of excuse, and everybody just riding this train, right? Riding this thread. So apparently, Fantano got himself into some kind of hot water. I'm not sure why, I didn't even listen to the record. And personally, like you, I couldn't even care less, right? So this female rapper came out, named Sexy Red. She had an album, and Fantano was one of the few people to say that he loved it. He gave it an 8 out of 10. Is in his one of his favorite albums of the year, right? And people was like losing their minds, like, oh, you could take a Sexy Red album is trash. Sorry, is great. Sexy Red is trash. Oh, you could like that. But you want to talk about Kanye album being bad, but you love Sexy Red. What are you trying to say? What does that have to do with anything? And that's the discourse again. It's all these petty squabbles that you just put together, and it's all to say, oh, Fantano is trash because he don't want to critique, he don't want to talk about our album because of, the bias that he had with it going into it, right? Which he addressed in that video. So you see the comparison there, right? It's somebody who didn't want to really talk about the album because, or the project, because they knew of the backlash or the praise or the toxic praise surrounding it, right? So you see, it's like day and night now. So the Vultures one thing is about this toxic praise surrounding it, and the Madam Web stuff is all about the backlash surrounding it, right? So these content creators, veterans in my opinion, right, decide that they're gonna give you a different take on it. Why, this exists, you know what I mean? Like I want to address something along that line, but I'm not gonna be, primarily talking bad about the album or talking bad about the project. I'm just giving you a different slant based on it. You want to come now and say, well, no, we don't want to hear that because your job is to critique stuff. That's what we come here to your channel for. Motherfucker, they are content creators. They could talk about what they want to talk about. Don't you? Don't you, Mr. Random content creator, do the same thing? Or is it that you have to talk about what everybody else is talking about, and you call it film criticism, you call it music criticism, and you want to tell yourself and pat yourself in the back and say, oh, this is beneficial to the culture, and this is beneficial to the film or the music industry, and feel like you're all high and mighty, right? When, as you keep saying, you keep using this term, Ricardo, you have no skin in the game. Like who are you in the grand scheme of things? Who are you? Are people going to be going on trending and seeing your videos? No, they're going to be most likely seeing a Fantano video who has trended in the past, or they're going to see a Stuckmann video who has trended in the past as well. They're not going to see you. So what contribution you really bring into the table? And even worse now, by jumping on this hype train now and saying, oh, Fantano is trash because he spoke his mind, and Chris Stuckmann is trash because he spoke his mind too, right? So this is where I'm gonna wrap things up now, and then we can move on with the lights, because this shit's starting to get really annoying now, right? So why this really affect me now is, just the idea of criticism in general, just the importance of it, right? I don't come here specifically to talk about bad movies. I don't go out of my way to watch bad movies or to listen to bad albums or whatnot. Again, I chose Bob Marley One Love over Madam Web. I could have done like everybody else and just, saw Madam Web just to tell my friends on Facebook, yeah, see it, right? But what would that benefit me? One, they're not going to really check it out because, it have other people out there, other American creators, who they could just see a 5-minute video. I ain't calling no names, you know what I mean? And just say, all right, that's my opinion. It's 5 minutes long. Okay, cool. They don't want to hear me talk for 20 minutes about a show that, let me be real, they're not even going to see, even if it come out digitally. So what's the point of me wasting my time and money seeing that? That's why I went to see Bob Marley One Love, which also will be a show that a lot of people I know probably wouldn't even go and see for reasons, but they'll wait until they come out online. Maybe they might say something, maybe they won't. I don't know. I just saw it because I wanted to see it. I wasn't chasing clout or anything like that, right? But is this idea as content creators now, you know what I mean? As the term itself, content creation, this idea that, oh, you're not supposed to talk about this. You're not supposed to make content about that. No. They put you in a box and tell you this is your job, you have to do it. So even when a man like Stuckmann, who is clearly branching out into the world of film, he can't talk about the stuff that he's interested in now. No, he has to stick in this vacuum. He had to stay in this box and keep doing the stuff that he's been doing, from since he was young, you know what I mean, to please you. But then now, to you random content creator out there, when you reach his age or when you reach your 40s and 50s and you look back at your life and you realize, wow, I just spent like 22 decades of my life just talking about movies, and I even make nothing. I even put anything out in the world. I even create nothing. How would you feel about yourself when you want to waste your time talking down to somebody who's doing that, right? As far as Fantano goes, it's just a matter of, again, this whole troll mindset now. All right, I have to talk. I have to really beat it into your skull about how toxic this fandom is. But at the end of the day, they're not going to care, right? But he does what he does because he's passionate about music. You know what I mean? He has skin in the game, right? So why be mad at him? Because one, he doesn't like a record, and two, he doesn't feed into, this whole bullshit concerning Kanye, right? So I kind of lose and win here, right? So the point is, I'll just end things off basically with a quote, right? This is actually from a rap song that Talib Kweli put out last year, right? It's off of Liberation 2. It's a quote that stuck with me, right? Like, stuck, right? But I think it kind of sums up the way how I feel about this and how other people who really don't want anything to do with this discourse should look at this whole situation, whether it's Stuckmann or whether it's Fantano. I'm an artist. You're creative content. There's a difference. Really think about that line for a bit. And you'll understand why I decided to talk about this in the first place, why you, Ricardo, feel the way how you feel about it, and yeah, why I ultimately feel this whole backlash against Stuckmann and Fantano is just bullshit. It's just clout chasing, just you trying to justify, your attempt at being like Stuckmann, you know what I mean, and you want to call yourself a film critic, but and a content critic. I keep having to bring this up, right? But you mad because he making the stuff that he want to make, and it's almost like he betraying you and he backstabbing what it means to be a film critic, and it's just all this argument and all this bullshit that ultimately not even going to matter in the grand scheme of things, and not even going to matter when another bad movie comes out or when a great movie comes out as well too, right? Look, right now at the time of me talking all this right now, Stuckmann put out a video for First Blood, as in the first Rambo movie, right? Yeah, you think he's gonna stop what he's doing to care about what all these sludge movers care about? No, he's gonna keep on doing the stuff that he's gonna do. And same thing with Fantano as well too. But if you feel the need, because you need them clicks and you need that ad revenue to just talk down on somebody that you look as a hero, then go on right ahead. But believe me, 6 months, a year from now, whatever, who's gonna care? Really, who's gonna care? I think I talked long enough. I'm gonna stop there. I don't know if you have anything else to say, and then we can just move on with your lives.
Not really. We could end it there,
Yeah, we can end this way. But yeah, content creators, man, please just wake the fuck up, man. Like stop staying it. Stop putting yourself. Yeah, right, like you're in a box already. You want to put yourself in a box already. You tell yourself this is what you have to do for the rest of your life. Fine, right? But don't get mad at somebody who has been doing what you're doing right now, want to do something different, and you want to talk down to him because he's doing that, right? And then if somebody has a perspective on something that you like or you love or whatever, you have to fight him down because he thinks differently. You know what I mean? Like, come to man, It's about opinion. It's about opinion at the end of the day, man. Right? So you just leave it at that.